Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Dave Lee from Dave Lee's English, and today we have a special treat for you, an interview with Anderson from the English Room, and you can hear a Brazilian English teacher and an American English teacher talk about everything from English to skydiving. So let's jump in.
Vamos lá então.
Okay, so tell me about yourself. First of all, where were you born? And
All right. I was born and raised in Campos do Jordão. It's a countryside city in the countryside of São Paulo. It's
Mhm.
actually in the mountains, so it's a very cold city. Especially during the winter, we can reach -4, -6. It's pretty cold.
Wow, see, that's very rare in Brazil. People in the
Yeah,
United States would not believe that.
that's why it's a touristic place. Everybody goes there just to see the cold weather, and the architecture is pretty different as well. So it's a worth visiting place.
Oh, wow. And how did you get involved with studying and teaching English?
Well, it's a long story. I'll try to make it short. I always loved English. I always liked it. It was always associated with something pleasant for me. For example, I used to like to play video games in English. I used to like to listen to music, and English was always something good in my life. And in 2009, I went to the United States for the first time. I took an exchange course. And when I returned to Brazil, I realized that if I didn't do something related to English in terms of profession, I would forget everything I learned. And it was a pretty expensive exchange program. I saved money for over a year to go to the United States. So I said, no, I cannot allow this to fade, to wear off.
Right.
So I said, you know what? I'm going to start working with English. And then I applied for a position in the bank I was working for. And I started attending governments. When they want to bring money to Brazil, I was there to explain them how to. And then after 6 months, I applied for a teaching position at a school here in Brazil. And for my surprise, I was approved. And since then, I discovered a new passion in my life because, English is something very interesting. You learn a new thing every day, as you learn in Portuguese as well. But I like English. I like the way our brain works in English. For me, it's a very advanced language. You can express very complex ideas with just one simple sentence. So I love it. I think like I feel like my logical thinking improves in English. Like I think faster. And when I'm thinking in Portuguese, I think like I have to explain to myself lots of things. So that's why I like English so much. I think I can think faster in English. And that's how I started giving classes. I discovered that it could be a good business as well. So that's how I started. And I came to YouTube to teach my students at the beginning because since the beginning, I never, just a second, please.
Yeah.
So, um, I started my YouTube channel to help my students because I didn't teach English in Portuguese. So, I didn't use any Portuguese within the classroom. And some students were very basic and they needed to understand some advanced stuff, but I couldn't teach them in English because they wouldn't understand a word I say, and
Mhm.
I couldn't speak Portuguese inside the classroom. So I started making some videos to teach them about chunks, to teach them about routines, to teach them about strategies to learn faster. And I
Mhm.
started sharing this only with my students. So the purpose of the channel wasn't attracting students or making money or anything like that. But after a while, I started receiving visitors from other places, and then I said, "Oh, maybe this could be a good chance for me to communicate with people who are not my students." And then I started organizing meetings for us to get together and communicate, not only my students, but everybody who was following the channel. And from these meetings, it formed a kind of ecosystem, So people used to come from to the meetings, and then they used to access the channel. People used to access the channel, and they end up coming to the meetings. And they started being interested in being my students. So I said, maybe this is a good way for you to get to know people. And that's what I did. So that's what I do until nowadays. Nowadays, the channel is a lot bigger, but I still use it to communicate with people and to learn a lot. So I learned how to make videos, I learned how to think in English, I learned how to explain new ideas to the students, I learned new techniques, teaching techniques, and it's all because of YouTube. I think I'm getting to be my best version because of that.
Hmm. That's good. So much of what you said resonates with me. I know we're two different English teachers, and there will always be differences of opinion between one teacher and another on the best way to do one thing or another. But for instance, you're saying thinking in chunks or dealing with chunks. That's so important because it's like in English, you don't just say a word, space. It's a chunk. I mean, and if you don't know how the word chunk works, you're not going to understand English, and you're not going to understand native speakers and how they speak. Another thing you said that really caught my attention was that you said you could speak or think quicker in English, and that's so funny because I noticed a lot of Brazilians say that, oh, Americans speak so fast. And, some do. People from all countries, there are always some who speak faster than others. But part of the problem is English words and English sentences are shorter than Portuguese words and sentences usually. Like the word chocolate is spelled exactly the same in Portuguese and English, but in Portuguese it's chocolate. Oh no, chocolate. And in English it's just chocolate, half. So yeah, I guess it makes sense that you can actually think quicker in English.
That's it. And for people who don't know what chants are, could you explain it for them?
The way I think of it, and you can correct me if you see it differently, is uh, in a sentence, of course, there's a space between every word if it's written down, but it's not spoken like that. It's like the phrase, what are you doing, has four words, but we say more like, what are you doing? It sounds like two words. What are you doing? What are you doing? And so if you don't know the chunk, if you don't know how the individual syllables are pronounced, if you don't know how syllables are reduced, if you don't know how they connect or link to each other, uh, then you're not going to understand and you're not going to be understood. So the concept of chunks is very important.
Yeah, that's it. I usually explain it to my students as blocks of information. So understand it as a block of information. If I say the words, the letters R, U, and N, maybe you don't memorize. But if I say run, and then I say RUN, you will memorize it because it makes sense. So it's a block that you put together to make sense. And I use the same sentence as an example. That's interesting. I use, what are you doing? Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, it's
I
it's a
use,
very common English reduction.
and now there's a song that I use with my students. It starts like, what you doing? Where you at? From Bruno Mars. And
Yeah.
I think it's leave the door open, or yeah, I think that's it. Leave the door open, and he even says, "I'm gonna leave the door open So he's saying, I'm going to leave the door open. And it's very important for the students to understand that he's saying that, and he doesn't need to say, I am going to leave the door.
Exactly. Yeah. I use a song, a country song from like the early 1990s. I think it's called Be My Baby Tonight. But the chorus, the first line of the chorus goes, could you, would you, ain't you gonna? If I asked you, would you wanna? He uses like 7 chunks right there. Could you, would you, ain't you gonna? If I asked you, would you wanna be my baby tonight? And I'm like, no, so if you don't understand reductions and those chunks, forget it.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. And all right. What else would you
Well,
like to know? I think you
yeah,
asked me more things, but I ended up answering just one question.
that's great. Well, tell me outside of outside of English, what are your interests?
Well, besides English, I like psychology. I have a PhD in experimental psychology.
Oh, wow.
I like computer science. I have a master's in complex systems modeling. I'm a geek.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I
No,
forgot to
absolutely
tell
not.
you. Yeah, I forgot to tell you, and when you interviewed me, my hobbies, are well playing the drums. I also like traveling and flying airplanes. I got my pilot's license, so that's I tell people being in the air is like no place on earth.
Whoa, I'd
Many
like to
adventures.
do that. Is it difficult?
Uh, it it's time consuming. It's kind of like English, but not as time consuming as English. It just step by step you get there. And if you have a good instructor, uh, you learn what to do, what not to do, and then one day you go for a lesson, and he says, "I'm leaving the airplane now. You go fly by yourself." And you're thinking, what? Is kind of like the first time you have to speak in a second language by yourself. What you do, you just do it. If you're prepared, you're okay. If you're not prepared, you're not okay. But when it comes to learning a second language, if you make a mistake, that's good. You can learn from your mistake and keep going. You don't want to make too many mistakes in an airplane, though.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you do it in Brazil?
uh, no, I've only flown in the U.S. and the Bahamas. The state I lived, Mississippi, you could fly from Mississippi to Alabama to Florida, and then you go to the end of Florida, and pretty soon you're in the Bahamas, and it's a lot of fun. Look down, you can see the clear water. Unfortunately, you can see sharks, so you think, I hope the plane doesn't go into the water.
Yeah, hopefully, and luckily it didn't.
Exactly. Yeah,
So, here in Brazil, it's very pricey to learn how to fly. It's very expensive.
it is, and it's gotten to be very expensive in the U.S. too. Fortunately, my instructor was a good friend of my father, and for he actually for graduation present gave me flight lessons. So I only had to buy the gasoline uh, and the oil and things like that, and then I had to buy the materials to study for the written exam. The written exam has or had, I think it still has 55 questions, but they have 550 questions they give you that you have to study on everything from the weather to aerodynamics to air traffic control. It's a very involved process, but it's worth it if it's worth it.
Right? That's interesting. I Last month I learned how to sail a boat.
Oh, wow.
It was easy. It was a lot easier than flying an airplane for sure. I think it's not as dangerous as flying an airplane as well. And it's very cheap. Here in Brazil, it's not pricey at all. You pay, and nowadays it's 1,000 reais, which is almost $200, and
Mm-hmm.
it's including the lessons in also ski, jet ski
Oh wow.
lessons, and
Oh,
it includes the exam as well. So it's very cheap.
oh, that's great. Yeah, I love jet skiing. I used to do jet skiing. I've never done much sailing, but jet ski is a lot of fun.
I love it too. I don't have much talent, you know. I discovered that, but I still like it.
Oh yeah. Well, I also uh, learned how to skydive. I've only done that one time, but I can check that off my bucket list. It, it was a lot of fun.
And did you
But
do it by yourself or with an instructor together with you?
it was, yeah, a tandem. They call it a tandem jump when you and the instructor are together. Because I was in Las Vegas for a clothing market. I owned a clothing store, so Las Vegas had the largest clothing market in the world at the time, and still does. Uh, and so I only had one morning off. And if you train to go by yourself, the training takes all day. But if you uh, go with an instructor, it only takes 3 hours from beginning to end. And oh wow, it was so much fun. But they keep asking you the whole way. From they pick you up at your hotel, take you to the airport, take you in the air, but the whole time they're saying something like, "Do you want to quit? You don't have to do this. Do you want to quit? You don't have to do this." I'm like, why are they saying that? And it's kind of a CYA, cover your, like they, and if something happens to you, they want to say, he said he wanted to several times and he signed all of this paperwork that
Oh no,
says
here
if
in
he
Brazil
dies.
it's more like, would you like to do that? Oh yes, I whoa.
uh, yeah,
They
it's
ask you once. After that, you are in the airplane, and if you want to quit, they just jump with you, and you have no option.
oh, that's great. That's the I prefer that method.
I think when I did it once too, and I think if they asked me there up there, like, do you really want to go? Probably I would have quit, but they didn't give me that option. It was like, are you sure you would like to go there? And I was like, I was already there. So,
Oh, that's
but
wonderful.
I think I prefer bungee jumping.
Oh wow. I've always wanted to bungee jump, but I've never had the opportunity.
Bungee jumping is a lot more interesting because you really feel like you're gonna hit the ground. So the adrenaline level is a lot higher because after you jump with parachute, you you stay in the air for a long time, and this reduces your adrenaline level, and you start feeling like you're flying.
Oh
um,
wow.
but bungee jumping, you don't have this feeling. You don't hit the comfort zone. The time passes really slowly. Your
Right.
adrenaline level starts skyrocketing, and you just feel like you're gonna explode. And
Wow.
you see the ground coming closer really fast. It's a different kind of emotion. It's a lot stronger than skydiving.
Oh, I imagine. I've never been able to do that, but at the Stratosphere Hotel in Las Vegas, the Stratosphere has one of the tallest towers in the United States, and you can go to the nearly the top floor, and they put you in a harness and attach a cable to your back, and you jump out of off of a platform, and you fall, but it's not a free fall. You're falling about 40 miles per hour, about 65 kilometers per hour uh, to the ground. And, you have time to like imitate Superman and act like you're swimming, conducting an orchestra. It's crazy, but that was so much fun. And you actually land on a target because if you don't land on the target, you may hurt yourself, but the target is very soft. So I did that and it was incredible.
I'd like to do that someday.
Oh yeah. If you ever get to Las Vegas, just go to the stratosphere. They'll hook you up, literally.
All right. All right, Dave. So for now, I think it was very nice to meet you, and
Yeah,
I'm
nice to
looking
meet you.
forward to our next videos.
Yeah.
For those who are watching this later, Dave's gonna analyze my English. I'm pretty sure I made lots of mistakes because I'm Brazilian. That's not my first language. And I'm pretty sure my English timing is not great, but it's acceptable, I hope. And
Definitely.
that's it. Thanks a lot, Dave. Thanks a lot. Muito
All right.
obrigado.
Thank you too. Yeah. And keep up the good work.
Thank you. So see you the next video.
All right.
Oh, and for
Goodbye.
those who don't know him, I'm gonna link his channel in the description below. He's gonna do the same in his channel, so you can get to know my channel as well. And
Yes.
that's it. I'll see you guys the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Goodbye.
Bye.